Boom. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Simulation. I'm your host, Allen Saakyan. This is going to be an interesting conversation. I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on being incarcerated for 4 months back in 2012. Most people don't know this about me, so I find this to be a very interesting moment in my life when I get to go very public about what happened in my life and just unpack the nuance of recidivism and of the corporate correctional facilities that exist around the planet, and about the war on cannabis, and about just the intricacies of what actually goes on inside of correctional facilities. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. So let's go ahead and show you what happened. I was living in San Francisco, and I was heading out towards New York at the time. What was going on was I was traveling from San Francisco to New York in a car, and I was going to TechCrunch Disrupt, which was in New York that year. And I was traveling via car because I wanted to drop off a couple of pounds of cannabis on the way. I believe it was about 7 pounds of cannabis on the way in South Dakota, where I was born and raised. And so I found it very interesting that, you know, the societal dynamics that exist where California, you can smoke cannabis on the streets, medicinally legal. In Colorado and Washington now, it's completely legal for recreational purposes. It's just nuts that there are 50% of the people that are incarcerated every single year due to drug-related offenses are there due to cannabis. That is fucking stupid and needs to be solved right away. It's fucking stupid and needs to be solved right away. It's a huge waste of resources. It's a huge waste of creative potential and endeavoring in our world. People use cannabis for pain. They use it for food, for eating better. They use it for their insomnia. They use it for all different types. We have an endocannabinoid system inside of our bodies. Enough is enough. There's been a war on cannabis the last 50 years, and people have worked really fucking hard to make sure that cannabis can be legal in the United States and around the world. So anyway, it's fucking crazy that Sioux Falls, South Dakota has stupid laws in comparison to California, hella far behind in comparison to Colorado and Washington. So just interesting shit like that I had to deal with. So anyway, I'm driving. I fucking hit a deer in the middle of the night. Classic. You know, got to get that lesson every once in a while. And, oh yeah, by the way, shout out to these dope shirts. Are we in a computer simulation? Boom, 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 boom. You can find them on our website, simulationseries.com, with the merch. Give it a shout. Give it a look. Share it with other people over the holiday. Ask them these really thought-provoking questions and wear things that are very thought-provoking. All right, back at it. So I hit a deer. And where did I hit the deer? Well, of course, none other than Sturgis. So here I am in South Dakota. You know, you saw that California's on the west, New York's on the east, and here's South Dakota smack dab in the middle of the United States. And so I'm traveling across, and I hit a deer right here on this interstate, I-90, middle of the night. It was like 3 a.m. So I hit a deer, and then I'm driving with a broken headlight. I was driving with 2 other people, and it was unfortunate because I wanted to stop because our headlight went out. I wanted to stop and get a hotel, but they wanted to push and get to Sioux Falls where we were going. Anyway, so I end up getting caught. They pull us over for the headlight, and then I have 2 Latino people in the car with me. So inevitably, that's a major reason why we got stopped. Let's not joke ourselves. California rental car with Exactly. So everyone already knows what went down. And so, yeah, we refused to let the cop search our car. And then we waited like an hour for a drug dog to come. And then, the drug dog, all you have to do is fucking pull the collar of the drug dog. You just gotta yank the collar of the drug dog, and drug dog will go, or the drug dog can hit every single damn car. You gotta be hella skeptical about shit like that, because a bunch of cars they search actually don't have any drugs in them. Anyway, so I'm back at it. So they search the car, they find the cannabis, they sit us down, they arrest us, we go to jail. We're in this fucking jail here. Look at this jail. So we're in the middle of, this is Sturgis. This is a Sturgis police station right here. What I'm highlighting over and over again, you can see. And this police station's very, it's a jail. The jail looks, the pods look like this. This is where I'm staying. I'm staying in a place that looks like this here. This is an easy way to look like that. So you're literally dudes. You're dudes that are stacked on top of each other, like two dudes, two chicks in their separate pod. Men and women are separated in different pods. In this jail, it was, I believe, 3 pods were men and 1 pod was women. And each pod had 16 men, 8 on the top floor, 8 on the bottom floor, and 4 bunks. Anyway, the crazy thing is when you get in there, it's nuts, because you get in there and you get a mug shot, and you get fingerprinted, and you get entered into the correctional facility database. So everyone in the world in the U.S. can know that you're a criminal for cannabis. And I got thrown in the fucking pods with people that were in there for pedophilia, people that were there for meth and heroin. And I'm there for fucking cannabis? Fuck. And so anyway, nuts that I had to deal with people there for pedophilia, and I'm sitting there with a cannabis charge. And so there's obviously a lot more to talk about. But anyway, getting put into the system and being identified in that sense and what that all means, because they need to know where you're at all times, because you're now considered a misdemeanor or a felon, or you got to work to get shit off your record. And this is the system that you get put into. We were talking about that episode earlier. We were mentioning on Takashi's episode, we were talking about Khalif Browder. Boom, right here. Khalif Browder, who had that accused of stealing a backpack and got incarcerated for 3 years in New York and 2 years of solitary confinement through that entire effed up system. So again, just Khalif Browder scenario again, and that's what 6ix9ine's pointing at too, is this system is so fucked. The recidivism is fucked, and it's there to trap you and to try, and in many ways to try and trap you, and many ways it's there to make sure that people that commit crimes that are pedophiliacs, when you are a pedophile, you are not able to be a repeat offender. That's why the jail is there. Fine, we need that. But stop incarcerating people for cannabis. Okay? There's a big difference between those two things. I feel like we need to zoom on that one. That was pretty intense. We need to zoom on that. Stop incarcerating for cannabis. Jeez, use the jails for shit like incarcerating people that are pedophiles or that are trying to give meth and heroin to little kids on the streets. Those are the things that people need to be incarcerated for, not cannabis. It was fucking weird surrounding myself with people there that were in those classes. So anyway, this is what the center pod area looks like. So, you get to hang out in these little center pods. There's a fucking TV, and there's board games, and there's all this other kind of stuff. And and there's books, and there's an exercise area and all this stuff. And so you can only go to the exercise area a certain amount of times, or the book once a week. You can go to the library and get books and that kind of stuff. And that's all really important, because that's how you keep your freaking sanity while you're there. Having the freedom taken away from you is the worst thing in the world. Hate having freedom taken away from you. It's the worst thing in the world. God, it sucks. especially for cannabis. So stop risking so much. Be a risk taker with entrepreneurship or with being artist or creative, but don't take risks with meth and heroin and child molestation and domestic cases of violence and gun violence. Stop fucking doing that shit. It's not worth it. So I was in jail over my 21st birthday. And I think that's a very interesting point, is that I was 20 when I was incarcerated, and I got out right around the holidays, and I had turned exactly 21 over the holiday and right before the holiday. And so I thought that was very interesting that I spent my 21st birthday incarcerated. And that was a very meaningful moment to me because I had been spending so much of my fucking 18 and 19-year-old times in my first 2 years of college at the University of Minnesota drinking excessively. And so, of course, I was doing other things like participating in clubs and doing social networking and learning things and being held accountable and working out and other cool things, losing 50 pounds. But at the same time, I was drinking excessively and smoking excessively. And I'm really fucking happy that all of this happened to me to fucking slap me in the face, wake me up, and teach me to focus on building my dreams into the world. And this was a major moment for me. Without going to jail for 4 months, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't have as much of a laser focus. I wouldn't know so much about the corporate correctional facilities and how fucking bullshit that system is, and in many ways, and how it's important to, and how bad it is for people that with cannabis violations. So again, it all has taught me a lot. Ooh, zen on that for a moment. All right, back at it. So, there are people there for drunk driving, and the people there for drunk driving are a little bit more sane in some ways. The people there for drunk driving, they're there on maybe a first DUI offense or even a second DUI offense. It's fucking Rapid City area in South Dakota, western South Dakota. So, when you're out here in the middle of freaking in the middle of freaking basically nowhere in very small communities of people of 10,000, maybe 50,000 people, that it's easy for you to drink and drive versus, I think Uber, just for those that don't know, I'm pretty sure Uber and Lyft didn't make it to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and South Dakota. I don't even know if it's in Sturgis yet, but it's definitely in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They only got it out there like last year, like in 2016, 2017 is when Uber and Lyft made it to. I don't even think Lyft is there yet. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. Maybe it's just Uber. Anyway, that gives you an idea about not only are they behind on cannabis, but they're behind on technology in many ways as well. But they're at some small business forefronts and stuff like that, and that's interesting. But my point being that you take a look at this, of course, there's going to be some issues that arise. So anyway, my point is that I'm hanging out with these people that are in there for DUIs and whatnot, and they're at least business owners. Some of them own their own like construction companies and truck driving companies and that kind of stuff. So when I'm talking to them, I'm at least able to socialize with them on a business level about life. And that was kind of helpful. Other things that I did when I was incarcerated, the last thing you want to do when your freedom's taken away from you is like gain weight and be lazy and be angry and get into fights. Because if you get into fights, you're fucked. You're increasing your sentence. It's even worse. So you got to learn how to stay calm in jail. You literally become a man in jail. And there's a lot of quotes that are out there from young people that have went to jail that say that it makes you a fucking man when you get into jail. And so I did a couple things in there. One of the things that I did was I read a fuckload. So I read about trading stocks. I finally learned, я знаю, как говорить по-русски. I know how to speak in Russian, but I didn't know how to write and read. So I learned how to write and read in Russian. I watched a lot of the stock market. I worked out a shitload. I worked out every day, lots of working out. I read a ridiculous amount of books. I read so many books every single week. And so anyway, I did a lot of that, and that helped me stay sane in many ways. And I kept close social ties to people that were sane. There were fucking weird things like making like jailhouse burritos, which is when you take Doritos that you can buy and you like crunch them up with ramen, and then you like turn this Dorito ramen mixture. You soak the ramen in water. Again, you don't have hot water, so you're just soaking ramen in cold water for a while, and then you strain the ramen, and then you mix it together with the Doritos to make a jailhouse burrito. It's ridiculous. And you can put like mayo from your lunch on it and stuff. It's so weird. And then that's food. It's ridiculous that that's food. You can get like, there's commissary, so you can put money on your account, or other people can put money on your account. You can have someone visit you like once a month or something like that. It was ridiculous. Oh yeah. Without going into too much depth about that, obviously my mom and my uncle were not very happy with me about this, and they absolutely despised me wanting to go back to California after all of this happened. So however the fuck I managed to hustle my ass back out here is a fucking miracle, because that's why I'm here today and I'm building what I'm building and I have the vision that I have. Otherwise, Allen in some other multiverse is still stuck in South Dakota, and Allen in some other multiverse is like in Europe right now or some shit because he wanted to go travel. So yeah, crazy stuff. Without getting too more into the nuance of that, there was crazy stuff happening. Like there was this guy that would tell me he was like I think his name was Gerald. That was his name, Gerald. And Gerald would tell me, he would be like, he would be like, when you get out of here, put a file inside of a puzzle box and like hide it between the top of the box and where, just like slide it into where the cardboard is, so they won't know that you're sending me a file, and send me that file. And then what I'll do is I'll break out of jail, and then I'll tell you where I hid an ATM. I hid an ATM that I stole. I hid that ATM in the woods, and I'll tell you where that ATM is. And I was like, damn, this is some straight up out of a movie shit. This is crazy stuff. Like, people are doing everything possible to get out of there. He was walking one time. Here, let me show you. He's walking from right here. He's walking from the police station right here to the clerk of courts right here. So he's walking just from the police station to the clerk of courts. And so that's because that's where they have the legal cases. So he has to like walk over there in handcuffs, right? But one time he walks over there in handcuffs without feet cuffs, and he just sprints off. And he's trying to like climb a fence over an interstate and escape, and he didn't get away, unfortunately. And so, but he wasn't a violent offender either. I don't remember what it was that he was incarcerated for, but it wasn't a violent offense, I'm pretty sure. And anyway, they cuffed his legs next time, so he also couldn't run. So that's what they do. They then go and cuff your legs so you can't run away. So we had some crazy scheduling stuff. Like, you would be woken up in the mornings. Like, lights would go off at 11-ish at night every night, and they would go on at 7 a.m. every morning. Bright-ass fluorescent lights. And remember, you're sleeping in a bunch of these pod bunks with other dudes. And so you have to deal with, people farting, people yelling, people moaning, people screaming, people taking shits right inside of that bathroom that's right next to where everyone is sleeping on the pods, and that you have to smell the fecal matter throughout the entire pod. Like, I would go all the way as far away from the bathrooms into the corner as possible to get away from that smell. And you never know how good the air filtration system is in there. And there's 16 dudes in one of these small ass pods, and we're sleeping on these bunks on top of each other. So you learn how to fucking respect people hella quick, because you're stacked on top of each other like sardines and shit. And then there's another version of this. Here's the other version, where what you see here is everyone has their own individual cell. So here, every person goes into their own room, and sometimes two people get stacked into each one of these rooms. You see them there on the right side of the image, and up floor up as well. And so that's different than sleeping on the bunks. These are two different pod designs is what they're called. And so with this crazy schedule, they'd send you a cleaning cart. It'd be so ridiculous. Every single day there'd be a cleaning cart. And the lady would come in, the corporate corrections facility officer would come in, and she would yell at 7 a.m. She'd be like, "Cleaning cart!" And she would yell and wake everyone up. And everyone would have to, wander their way down to the cleaning cart, grab things. And it was like, it's a sense of community and accountability in the pod that everyone grabs shit and cleans. Someone sweeps, someone mops, someone wipes toilets, someone does, organizes other shit in there. And so it's really important to clean in there. Clean all the surfaces and stuff. That way you don't actually end up getting totally sick while you're in there too. So yeah, there, you'd get fed, and when you'd get fed jail food, which means you don't get a choice. So if they give you a slice of bread with a piece of bologna on it and an apple, or if you're lucky, you get an apple or some potato chips or whatever, that is what you get for lunch. And that's all you get. And there's no nothing you can trade or anything. The best you can do is tell someone, "I'll give you my bologna sandwich for your apple." And then you can make a trade like that. And within the people in your pod. That's it. Crazy stuff. And so I actually was, I'll tell you in a moment, the athletics, let me tell you about the athletics. There's this game that you can play. It's like once a day ish. Yeah. You can sign up to go play athletics, and there's ping pong, and then there's just a handball, and that's it. You just get ping pong and handball. And handball is you just like hit a racquetball against the wall with your hand, and you play two on two. So that was kind of interesting, for a while. And you go to the library once a week and get books, and I think I would check out like 5 books a week and smash them and take notes on them. Still have all my notes from jail. They're located somewhere in storage and shit. It's just crazy that, one time I'll open them up and read some shit to you guys. All right, let's talk about when I served. So what ended up happening was, in order for me to actually serve for serve a sentence of only 4 months, what I needed to do was serve. And by serving, what that means is that you work with the correctional facility to complete tasks within the facility to earn good time. And when you earn good time, you get out faster. It was something like for every 8 hours you worked, you got a day off of your sentence or something like that. And so I would work for 8 hours a day, and I got maybe for like 2 months I worked 8 hours a day. So I got 2 months off my like 6-month sentence, and it got down to 4 months. That was about what it was. And I was just so freaking blessed, because I didn't have to spend those other 2 months in there, and I worked my ass off. And I'll explain what I did. Here, let me show you what I did. So one of the things that I did was that here's the Meade County Courthouse. So this is, where the trials are held, right across from the jail. Damn, I remember. Just a quick thought along the way is that, did you know that judges are more likely to give you probation or more lenient sentences after lunch than before lunch? Because before lunch they're hangry, etc. It's just crazy that things like that are recorded and understood. It's like everyone should have a 1 p.m. or a 2 p.m. time if possible. As many people as possible should have that time, because then judges they've eaten. It's just insane stuff like that. So, okay, back to this. So within the police station right here, there's a kitchen, right? So I would go and I would get let out of, the doors are crazy. The doors are all locked doors. I mean, like, they're really tightly locked doors. Like, this room, there's nowhere to, let me see if I can, okay. There's no way to get out of this room, right? Like, the only way in this room is through this locked door right here. Where these dudes are in their suits in the top left corner of that image, and my mouse cursor isn't showing up. It's up here. I'll zoom in there. So it's like right up there. And when you go through that door, there's another locked door behind that door, and they can only unlock those doors through mission control, which watches everybody via cameras. So there's cameras everywhere. They watch everyone all the time, and yeah, anyway, and so you can't get in and out. So when you want to go work in the kitchen, which is what I did, I worked in the kitchen. I'd go through that door, through like 4 more doors, and I'd get into the kitchen. And in the kitchen, I would do things, and there's still more locked doors, so you can't escape from the kitchen. And anyway, I would do things like work with the chef, and I would prepare the meals, and that means I'd prepare the breakfast, I'd prepare the lunch, I'd prepare the dinner, and I would go and clean up all of the dishes from all of the pods through rinsing them off, putting them through the dishwasher, all that stuff. It was meditative. It was very meditative, and it got me days off, which was really important. And I bonded with the chef. The chef was cool, and we played some cards together, and it was just fun learning from him about poker and his life and music and that kind of stuff. And, and we augmented some of the recipes because I like to cook, and that was really fun. But it was crazy. We used a bucket of hydrogenated oil, like a bucket. I mean, a bucket like this big, like twice as big, 3 times as big as your head. You opened it up, and it was just orange oil. And that orange oil would be used in everything. It'd be used in the vegetables and the meats. It'd be used in the desserts. It'd be used in everything to cook. And there's more and more stuff coming out about these hydrogenated oils and how not, versus grass-fed butter from cows, and like what the difference is in health, or extra virgin olive oils and stuff like that, coconut oils, etc. All right. Working in the kitchen was interesting, and I did another part of the. I'll show you this last part of what I did to earn credit was I ended up doing yard work. So they actually let me outside, and that was very nice of them to let me outside, and they trusted me after a period of time to be let outside. And they watch you so closely. They're like, all right, we'll let you go do some yard work, but you know what? When you try and run, we're going to get you so fast, and then we're going to add to your sentence, so don't even try. And it would be so stupid to try. And so anyway, I just worked my ass off for them. They would give me a lawnmower, and like, here's an image of like, wait a second here. So this is an image of the jail, right? So here's all the, all these windows over here. That's where one of the pods, this is one of the 4 pods. So you would see, through the, and this might actually be, this is either 1 or 2 of the pods. But so anyway, that was where I resided. And then they would give me a lawnmower, and I would go and mow this grass. I'd mow this grass. I'd mow the grass, over here. So that's this street view facing this way, from the street right above Sturgis Police Station. And then I would mow the grass over by St. Martin's Chapel over here. I'd mow the grass over here by the Meade County Treasurer's office. I'd mow all this grass and stuff. And it was, it was interesting to mow the grass around. And it was winter, so there was a massive storm in Sturgis. So I was going up and shoveling snow and picking up tree branches that were dead, like big, massive tree branches. And taking them off site to a center where we could donate the pieces of the trees for wood and stuff. And anyway, it was just crazy actually being able to work outside. And I did that a lot. And I had, multiple layers of coats and all that kind of stuff on. So anyway, something very interesting is that, once you're able to go out and be a little more on your own time, and they give you that ability to go and, and do things on your own schedule, you can kind of take more of your time. Like if you want to, you can get through things really fast, which is good, but hopefully they'll have another thing for you to do, because if you go through it a little slower, you could spend the whole day outside instead of only 4 hours outside hustling. So I would try and do things a little bit slower and more meditatively. And then I would spend quite a bit of time inside of bathrooms so I could be alone. I would just go and hide inside of bathrooms at like the Meade County Treasurer right here. And I would, right here, Meade County Treasurer. And I would just go and hide inside of bathrooms so that I could have time alone. Sometimes I would masturbate in there, because you know what happens when you spend all that time in the pod, you just never have a time for any privacy at all. So guys are like, masturbating in the shower and stuff. And that's like the best. They get, you get 2 showers, you get, and two bathrooms. So 2 bathrooms have a shower in them, and then 2 toilets in those areas. So that's it for 16 dudes. So it was nuts again. So it was a huge learning and growing experience in my life, and I'm very, very grateful for it. It's hard for people to understand that. They're like, oh, how are you grateful for going to jail? And I think it's really important to understand why to be grateful for something like going to jail. because there's so much to learn about the incarceration systems, about things like the war on cannabis, how over 50% of people that get incarcerated for drugs are there due to cannabis-related crimes, and that needs to fucking end as soon as possible. Shitload of lost creativity, and a shitload of lost resources on that. And these jails are crumbling in many ways in their infrastructure. This jail here at Sturgis, this Meade County one, was actually somewhat decent. And they had more decent food and they had more decent structure. But there's a lot of jails that are fucking crumbling across the United States. And so, again, overpopulated jails. And there's a lot to learn, and I'm happy that I'm able to share the story with you all and how and what it means to, have spent time in there, because now I can empathize better with other people that have actually spent time in there. And I think that's a really important bridge to have, because when you're just so disconnected from people of low SES or people that are dealing drugs in order to survive, then you're never in their shoes ever, and you don't know what it's like to be in jail ever. So the more that you can empathize, the better we can bridge the conversation and see it from all perspectives. You see a 6, I see a 9. Now you see a 9, I see a 6, right? So we see it from all the perspectives, from white, from black, from man, from women, from low SES to high SES, from a grandpa to a 10-year-old, etc. You have to see this issue from all of these different perspectives, for someone that's been busted, who hasn't been busted, etc. So thanks everyone for tuning into this episode on the 4 months that I spent in jail. I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and give me your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear some of the potential solutions we have for some of the things that are going on in the system, and getting less of corruption and greed and recidivism, and focusing more on peace and prosperity and love and understanding. And I think that is definitely going to be the future, as XXXTentacion said, that this generation will be understood. I love you all. Thank you very much. And just let's do it. Let's build the future together, and let's manifest our destinies into the world. I love you all. I love you all. And this is Allen Saakyan, host of Simulation Series. Check us out, simulationseries.com. All the links are in the bio. Join us on Patreon. Join us on cryptocurrency donations. We need your help with scaling our efforts. We're being invited to interview people around the world, and we can't fund those interviews. They're really prominent people. It'd be a lot of fun to do it. People like the world's leaders in artificial intelligence, like Max Tegmark out in Boston, wants us to go there really soon, and we need to fund these things. So help us out, everyone. All right, that's it. Much love, everyone. I will see you soon. Peace and love. Thank you.